So, hi. All right, I will just start. And yeah, so welcome everyone to PM Consultancy. Um, if you can't hear me, you can just let me know because currently I'm in a co-working space, so I cannot be talking too loud. I'll try my best. And then yeah, so it's 9 o'clock to 10 p.m. and we will okay, we will have first I will brief you through what is it about for about PM, and then the remaining time will be open for Q&A. So if you have any question you can ask, and yeah, I will try my best to clarify. If I cannot clarify on the spot, I will get back to you personally. Yep. And okay, so yeah. Hi, welcome, and also thank you for attending the PM consultancy space. So a little slight expectation to you lah is to get ready to be mindfucked because PM recently has been changed slightly after the after the global TM summit. So I will be briefing you about what are the changes to expect. And then if you are a person that needs to write down notes in order for you to remember, then yeah, just prepare pen and paper for you to write down notes, um, because there's some transformation. And I think it's important for you if you want to run for LCB PPM, or even thinking of running for any position in TM. Yeah, so yeah, ask me as many questions as possible, and as I mentioned, if I cannot answer you on the spot, I will get back to you personally. And yeah, worry less and stay curious and embrace the change. Okay, cool. So I will start with explaining to you what does PM do. So it's the same that what we always talk about in PM is gate, keep, and develop. So this is the refreshed version of the gatekeep and develop. So I will go through every stage very detailed after this. So this is just to let you know in PM we do gatekeep and develop. So um okay, so what is gate? Basically gate is the process to enable us to get the right people at the right place in the right time. So it's all about recruitment and recruiting the right people for the right position. And because in an organization, just like Isaac, people is our asset to contribute to achieving the organization goals. And to go into the process of gate, we can see that here persona sorry it's actually persona, not personal building. Persona building, it means that coming up with the profile of the people to target. So like if you want to recruit people for marketing, what kind of profile do you need to target in order to recruit the right people for marketing? So basically that is about coming up with a profile. And then the thing that you always hear what PM always say is talent planning. So talent planning is basically planning the structure of the department, of the organization. So when if you are not from PM before and you are from another department, you can you remember that every time during MRD, team leader, you all have to come up with your department structure, your JD, how many people you want to recruit. This is all about talent planning. And then of course in PM, you need to plan the MRD timeline so that you know that the timeline does not clash with um, does not affect the operation productivity or performance. Yeah, so that's about talent planning. And then number three is talent attraction. So how are you going to attract this bunch of people that you are targeting? So basically planning on the recruitment goal. So after you do your talent planning, you know, oh, I need to recruit 60 people. So in order to get 60 people into your organization, how many people are you going to reach out to? How many people are you going to um, or target for info night, for assessment? So you need to know the recruitment goal, and then you know the target audience. So the target audience is basically based on the persona. And then what kind of channel is it? Digital? Is it physical? Yeah, so is it digital marketing or is it physical marketing? And then what kind of message are you going to bring out to the students in your university? So how are you going to sell Isaac? What is the value proposition? That is your message to sell out to students in your university. And then after you have all of this plan, then basically execute the recruitment strategies. If you have a campaign, then of course you're going to execute the campaign. Yeah, so that's for talent attraction, to attract the right talent. And then talent selection and allocation is basically about selecting the people. And one very important thing to do is to train the recruiters how to have an objective selection process. That means how can we select people very objectively without any judgment, but it's really based on the score. So it's very objective way of selecting people. And then selecting based on competence or Isaac value. But then in Isaac in Malaysia context, we are going to focus more on competence. That's why in the recent recruitment, I emphasize a lot with the current VPTM that we are going to do competence-based recruitment. And then allocating people based on the persona that you actually build at the beginning. So if you say you need a person who is very detail oriented for FL, then you need to allocate people who is detail oriented into FL. And then give feedback to all applicants. So be it they pass or fail the assessment, you have to give feedback to these people to have a very complete what's that applicant experience. And then last one for GATE is talent onboarding. So we don't just finish up recruitment at just allocating people, but we finish up recruitment on onboarding newbies. So when newbie come in, most importantly, PM must make sure that all department actually provide organizational and functional training to fulfill the initial JD of the members. So organization usually is PM's focus because that is when you do induction or you do DS, you talk a lot about the organization, you introduce Isaac to them. So this is about how you introduce Isaac to them. And each team leader's role is to have functional training to the newbies so that they are able to fulfill their JD. And then, of course, you have to create an engagement plan for the newbies because people come into Isaac, they might feel like not belong to this organization yet. So how can you come up with an engagement plan so that newbies are able to feel the sense of belonging? And then also have a membership database. So how can you store the data of all of these members so that you have a database or basically a database for you to know um, who is in your organization. Yep, and that's for Git. And then how do I go down? Okay, and then for develop, so develop is a process that enables the creation of an ecosystem for members to learn. So basically is a process that enables that provide the environment for your members to be able to learn and develop themselves. So so for develop, um, what do we do is really you can see it's 70 20 10. If you heard of this concept before, 70% of the time how we develop ourselves is through practical experience. 20% of the time how we develop ourselves is through peer-to-peer interaction or even feedback. Then 10% of the time we only develop ourselves through formal learning. That means through training, education, this kind of platform. Like even right now, you are experiencing only 10% of the learning. 70% of the time is when you are doing things, then that's where you learn. So because 70% of the time our learning comes from practical experience, that's why performance management is very important for us to ensure a person gets to develop themselves. So what PM needs to do in order to ensure that performance management happen is to make sure all the team leaders actually do performance management, which is what we currently call the performance appraiser, PA, and also personal development plan. um okay, so performance management is done in weekly team meeting, and personal development plan is done through quarterly basis. So that is the refresh version of a TM process. You don't need to be afraid of it yet, because just this is just to let you be aware of these small changes along the way. I am the one that is in responsible to do the change management for the entire of the Isaac in Malaysia, in how we can ensure that this is implemented in the entity. Okay, then as a PMer, we need to monitor the entity's performance monthly. So that's why we have a monthly SONA. Then in the SONA, we need to fill up how is our entity performing in terms of our PA scores and PA response. And then with the by knowing how your entity is performing, you need to brainstorm to improve your entity's productivities. That is PM's responsibility. How can I improve the productivity of the organization? And then after you get all the information, you need to compile and you need to produce a quarterly performance review report to the entity, so that they know, okay, this is what's going on, and also to the department, so that the department know how are they performing. So that is performance management. And then team leader capacity building. So team leader capacity building, it falls under the 20%, because it's peer-to-peer learning or feedback. So um, before we even encourage, or how to say allow team leaders to be able to enable the 20% of the learning in our team member, we need to build the capacity of the team leaders first, because most of the time a member's experience comes from how the team leader lead the members. So how PM is going to contribute to team leaders capacity building is to assess team leaders competence, and also if there's any need, we need to host team leader capacity building spaces using any form of global learning environment based on the team standards timeline. So this is also something that has changed in the PM process, and yeah, don't worry too much about it. Just be aware that there's this change, and how we build team leader capacity building is really based on how we implement team standards, because team leaders responsibility is to implement team standards. And then the 10% of the education comes from education cycle. So we call it national education cycle in the global, I mean, in the TM process in the entire globe, um, because we in the national level we need to come up with an education cycle, and then we need to implement it. And then in the local level, basically what you need to really focus on is identify the skills and knowledge lacking in members to organize training for members without overlapping the content with national education cycle. So whatever that national has already planned to educate the local level, just encourage as much as possible for your local level to attend the education. And then in your LC, if your members are based on your performance management, you realize that members are still not performing, then you go and find out what is actually lacking in order to enable the member to perform. If it's knowledge and skills, then what are the education that you can organize for your LC to bridge the gap and to equip them with the knowledge and skills. If national already doing it, then you just have to encourage them to go for national level education. Yeah. So that is for develop. And for keep, is a process that nurtures and engage the talent to be more performing, satisfied with their experience, and have a long-term career plan in Isaac. So if people are performing and they are very satisfied with their experience, they will want to stay in this organization, and that is how they have a long-term career in Isaac, because they are retained in this organization. And what is involved in keep is actually reward and recognition. So how can PM create a reward and recognition system in the LC, so that people who put in so much effort and already achieve, they also know that yes, my LC is actually recognizing my effort and my performance, so that they feel more motivated, and then they want to do more, and they also want to contribute back to organization by taking up leadership roles and really bring this organization to a better position. And then engagement assessment. So this is also something new. Um, is to assess the engagement level in the LC, and also create an action plan to work on the membership engagement to make sure that people are engaged. So to brief you a little bit on why during the TM summit this is included inside the KEEP is because millennials nowadays, um, based on research, shows that if young people nowadays they are not engaged in their workplace, they tend to leave the company because to them is this environment is not engaging enough, and I don't feel like I'm part of the organization, so I want to leave. So that's why engagement is very important for us to keep people in this organization and keep the right people in the organization. So this is why it is part of the keep process. And then lastly is about succession. So what is succession about is to firstly keep constant track on how many members have the potential to take up leadership roles. So most of the time when we see EB application, director application, RCP application, it's very limited people actually applying. So it means that there's something wrong with our succession planning. Our pipeline is very poor. So as PM, we really need to know how many members in our LC is actually having the potential to take up leadership roles, and then come up with the kind of action steps to nurture the experience of our members, or those that have the potential, nurture the experience, make sure that they have the right kind of development in order to um, enable them to be the successful pipeline in the future. Yeah, so that is part of the keep. And um, and then yeah, so now I think if you all actually look back at the OTM process, you'll be thinking, why is team standards no longer inside the TM process? Like usually at in the old TM process, team standards fall under the keep. So yeah, so where did team standards go, if you're wondering? It actually, here is a very important note, is that team standards is the responsibility of a team leader to deliver down to the team member, and TM's role is to empower team leaders to implement team standards. So that's why it's actually the core of TM to implement to empower team leaders to implement team standards, and team standards fall under the responsibility of team leaders. Yeah, so that's why it's no longer in the keep process. And let me brief you a little bit about the changes in team standards. So it's actually, if you look through, it's not very different. It's just that it's broken down into more specific words, and also um, the phase of the experience. So okay, in the building, we used to have introduction, plan, and personal goal setting. Here it is team creation, team plan, individual plan. So you can see under team creation, it has transition, core competence and functional skills, team rules. So transition used to be only in closing. Now we put it back to building, because to start a term, like even if you are elected as a LCVP, you need to get transition to be able to start your journey as LCVP. That's why it's also very important in the building phase of your experience. And then in as the title calls, team creation, of course we need to be equipped with functional skills first before we even talk about how can we plan for our department, how can we move our department forward. So that is the second activity that we need to do for team creation. And lastly is the team rules. So how can we come up with a rules and the routine of a team in order to have a proper team. And then number two is team plan, which is basically the same as planning in the old team standards. So you need to come up with your team purpose, your goals, your strategies. You have to know your JD. What's the timeline? How's the budget like? What's the okay? Only one thing different is team development goals. So basically, is that after knowing your team goals, what about the development of your teammates? How can we everyone develop ourselves in order to achieve our goals. So that is basically the team development goals. Individual plan is basically it's just like personal goal setting. So we need to finish up our initial LDA. We need to do our personal development plan based on our LDA and also based on um, the things that we want to achieve in Isaac and also in ourselves. So that's a building part. Performing, you can see it's result elevation, performance tracking, support system. In the old team standards in performing stage, it has team meeting, one regular one-to-one, and also team day. So we want it to sound more specific and really like self-explanatory. So in performing, we all talk about performance a lot, right? So what can we do in order to elevate our results? Okay, one thing very important is practical learning. So without a practical environment, um, we will not be able to learn one thing. We will not be able to achieve our goal because it means that we are not doing anything with our JD. So that's why it's called practical learning. You are doing the work at the same time you are learning. And then team working times is how you work together with your team. It's a time when you work together with your team. And then team incentive system. So how can you utilize incentive system to elevate your results? Okay, that's for results elevation. Number 5 is performance tracking. So it's just like um, performance management. And you can see that accountability system is like um, in your team meeting. Okay, so accountability system, individual tracking meeting, team weekly or monthly or quarterly review. Okay, so in terms of tracking of performance, what kind of system are you going to have? um, your team leader, of course, your team leader is the one that is keeping accountable your team members performance. And how are you going to track on that? How are you going to have a meeting to track on performance? And then also, how can you have a quarterly review, monthly review, or weekly review? But then in Isaac in Malaysia context, we'll be focusing just on quarterly review. And then lastly is support system. How does a team leader actually support a team member? So you can see that there's lead spaces, there's team meetings, there's one-to-one, there's team days and feedback. So you can see that one-to-one and feedback actually the things that we are currently doing already. In your one-to-one, you actually talk about feedbacks. And then team days fall under support system because if you have team days, you get more closer with each other. That's how you feel like, okay, my team is actually my support system. And then team meetings is that's when you not only talk about knowing each other's progress, and you also talk about how can I support you as a team to move forward together. So team meetings actually covers support plus performance tracking. And lead spaces is for team leaders to be able to produce kind of lead experience to our members. And then closing is team debrief. So reporting on the results, like what we always talk about when we produce a report at the end of our term. And then team development review. So we have a team development plan. Yeah. So team development goal. So at the end of the team experience, how much have we been achieving our own development? So it's not about operation, but about personal development in the team. And then about feedback, so give each other feedback when you have debriefing. And then number 8 is transition. So most importantly, as a predecessor, we need to transit the knowledge and the skills to our successors so that they know what kind of so that they are prepared for their roles. And then what kind of documents and tools that you need to pass down to your successors. And then what kind of suggestions of next steps and way forward that they can take in order to improve on the execution of the task in this department or as a LCVP. And then lastly is individual debrief. So this is like a individual closing experience. So you have to do your final LDA, need to have the final personal development plan review. So you have a quarterly personal development plan with your team leader. So at the last stage, you're gonna review it once more and close your experience. Yeah, so that is the team standards, the refreshed team standards. Yeah. And then, okay, so if you're wondering your role as LCVP PM, if you have clicked into the EB application booklet, you will see PM's role is this. So I have already listed down like as a LCVP PM, in each phase of the PM process, what are you supposed to do? So for Gate, um, about talent acquisition, which covers talent planning, talent attraction, talent selection, talent allocation. Yeah. So that is the thing about talent acquisition. So you need to, as LCPPM, you are not the one that do everything on the ground. You need to educate team leaders the technique of talent planning, talent attraction, talent selection, talent allocation, so that they know what is actually going on in recruitment. And then you need to make sure that every team leaders actually do their talent planning based on strategy, because how we come up with a structure is based on the strategy that we come up with. So when you have a certain kind of strategy, then you know what kind of action step to fulfill the strategy. When you know the action step, then you know what kind of structure that will support this strategy. Then with that, you will come up with a structure that really can enable you to achieve your goal and to execute your strategy. So make sure that team leaders do talent planning based on department strategy, and then ensure talent selection and talent allocation is done based on competency model. So that's why I say in AM perspective, we are really focusing on how to recruit a competent person into our organization. And then lastly, in terms of talent attraction, how are you going to ensure that you are using the global value proposition in our MRD? And then another thing about Gates is onboarding. So design a local education cycle which includes the onboarding of the newbies. So make sure that the newbies get the required skills and knowledge for them to be ready to execute their task. And really, shit, another typo. Include functional knowledge which is listed in the competency model, and organizational education in the onboarding education of the newbies so that they get functional and organization knowledge. And then for keep, JD is pipeline management. Utilize the performance review to identify members who are potential for succession, so potential pipeline lah. And then create an action plan to enable team leaders to nurture the development and experience of the team members so that they can be a successful pipeline. And then create strategies to build pipeline in your LC. Okay. And then JD for R&R system. So how can you establish an incentive system in the LC? And then JD for engagement process. Have an engagement routine in the LC so that to have the membership to be well engaged. Ensure that all team leaders actually implement team standards in their department and have meetings with team leaders when necessary to have action plan to increase engagement level in the membership. So when you realize that engagement is really bad, then if you think that it's necessary to have a team leader meeting just to think about how can you improve on engagement, then do it. Yeah. So that's for keep. And lastly is to develop. JD for performance management is to educate all team leaders how to implement performance management, establish a performance management routine and habit in the LC, conduct quarterly performance review, analyze and infer the data that you get from performance review to produce a report for LC. And then JD for team leader capacity building is to assess the competence of the team leaders to design a capacity building plan to improve team leaders' performance, and also to allow them to improve on team members' experience. Then deliver education to build the capacity of the team leaders in the LC. Engage with alumni or externals who can add value to the capacity building plan, and evaluate the effectiveness of the education in boosting the team leaders' competency and productivity. Okay, so here I just put it here so that you are aware of this is what PM's responsibility is for team leader capacity building. But then the direction that AM is heading to, most probably it will be more of a national focus than a local focus because it's too much for LCVP PM to do it for team leader capacity building. So yeah, just just to let you know about what is team leader capacity building about, and really just don't panic. And then JD for formal education is assessing the competency gap with the reference to the competency model, aligning local education cycle with the national education cycle so that you have a suitable time frame and the content, to avoid the repetition of education content, and then empower LC member to attend national and local education so that they are able to equip themselves with the necessary knowledge and skills, and also ensure implementation of the local education cycle, which includes the necessary competence listed in the competency model. Be creative and resourceful to create and reuse educational material from Isaac Hub. So really, sometimes Isaac Hub has a lot of educational material. If you want to use it, you can reuse it by any means. It's from all over different entities around the world. Cool. So, okay, key synergy for PM. You can see that PM and LCP, we have very, very, very strong synergy. We must have, because we need to know how we can shape the culture and behavior of the organization, to enable the organization to be performing and healthy. You also can propose to LCP the initiative that you have for Gatekeep Develop, and discuss whether or not this plan is feasible and see how you can implement it, and then also reinforcing the implementation of PM processes to all team leaders together with LCP, because LCP play a very huge role in supporting PM in implementing PM processes. So PM and FL, basically the thing that you will be synergizing about is the budget for any PM initiative, and then discuss about key initiatives and investment that can improve the productivity of membership. Sometimes it can include R&R system. Yeah, and then PM with all the product team. Mainly your means key synergy is EP lead planning for value delivery, PM and marketing, IXP planning. So see how you can bring in people who have gone on exchange and how can you market to these people. And then PM with all of the department, no matter what, front office, back office, is to ensure PM processes are implemented, L&D, performance appraisal, team standards. Yeah, so basically it's this. Okay, and then PM KPI. Yes, so this is a refresh PM KPI. The TMMOS is okay. The big goal is members achieving their goals. It means that they achieve 100% of their goals. And PM KPI is percentage of PM processes execution. So how much of gate, keep, and develop has been executed in your LC. That's one KPI in order to ensure that people can actually be productive. And then also implementation of team standards so that people can be productive. And then also by identifying the productive people, you can also know that how many percent of the people in our LC is actually high performing, is actually a star member. So high performing sometimes can be very, very, very performing but not engaged, can be very performing and also engaged. So how can we identify this pool of people? And yeah, it might seem really alien to you. Really don't worry, just for your awareness, and the change management um will happen, yes, definitely. I will plan on the change management for to equip you with sufficient PM knowledge. And number three is yeah, for keeping them is definitely retention rate, percentage of engaged membership, so how many percent of your membership is actually really engaged, and percentage of talent actually ready for leadership role, and percentage of talent actually applying for the roles. So that's the KPI for PM. Yes. And PM timeline. Yeah. So you can see that, okay, summer time, which is when you are starting your term, you can see here's your MRD processes. But yeah, this is a timeline for MRD to happen for talent planning all until talent onboarding. Then for keep, you as a LC VPTM, you must make sure that you track on team standards implementation in your LC, and you also can see how you can play around with R&R system. And then for develop, performance management is definitely going on from even now until the end of your term, and also see when can L&D be implemented. Okay, so you can see that here L&D creation for quarter one and also onboarding, L&D creation review for quarter two, for quarter three, team leader capacity building. This is probably national level, like I mentioned. Okay, so yep, team leaders timeline. This is something that you will know. So you face transition, LCP transition here, and then current team and individual. Okay, current for the current team 17 18, they are going to have team and individual debrief, and they have to produce report. And then transition for LCVP is happening here, and then team plan, individual plan, because this is when you almost going to start term. Yeah, and then at the throughout the entire term, you are doing the performing stage, performance tracking, result elevation, support system. Yeah, because you are constantly running operation never stops, so performing stage never stops. Cool. National direction, performance management implementation. So performance management implementation, um, f- for now, is really on establishing a routine of PA and one-to-one. And then this is the ideal situation that I can set the foundation for a quality performance management system. So it's not just implementation, but also is a quality one. So team leader capacity building is focusing really on team leaders with the necessary managerial skills, that means leadership skills, and then also building pipeline. This way, I was thinking, with quality team experience, this way we can also build quality pipeline because the team leaders are really quality. And then ensuring team leaders are able to provide 100% of team standards and also personal goal setting based on LDA. They need to know how to do this personal goal setting based on LDA. And lastly, competency based recruitment. Yeah, not just for newbies but also team leaders. Cool. Q&A. Oh shoot. Okay, yeah. Q&A. Anyone has any questions? Oh my god. Hi everyone. Do you have any questions? Out of curiosity, yes. Actually, you can unmute your mic if you can. Oh, why is PM called PM? Okay, people management, right? It's because how to say we are not here to manage. Okay, we are not here to. Uh, Talent management is more on the very HR based processes, but here we are talking about how we manage people, how we ensure that they are really able to um, develop the membership. So it's more on managing the people instead of like more on the technical HR stuff. But then, of course, there are some entities that are calling TM, talent management, because they haven't established that foundation yet. Yeah. So when Anatom 1617, they switch the name to PM. Mm. Any other questions? Out of curiosity, uh, are you all quite overwhelmed? Okay. Global competency model, right? Yes, um, it's a model that is created by AI, Isaac International, with a partner, with a global partner called Ubiquity University. So most of okay, the reason why we come up, I mean, why AI come up with a competency model is because when AI proposed to Ubiquity University that okay, these are the skills that Isaacs can develop, blah 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 blah. But then when Ubiquity University challenged us on whether or not after you learn this skill, you are really able to apply it in the real world. So that's why International and Ubiquity University they discuss together to come up with the competence that really is not just applicable in Isaac but also applicable in the real world, so that it's really we are really developing people to set them up for the real world. And yeah, that is a competency model. And the skills it oh my god, if I want to go through it, it's a lot of things to tell you. So basically it includes core competency, so managerial skills, how the leadership skills that you need to have, the leadership competence that you need to have when you take up leadership roles. That's one thing. And we call it the mind because it's about your mindset. What kind of mindset do you have as a leadership? Then the heart is about your feeling. So when you go to heart, is core competence of function. So for example, for example, OGV, you are here to master or to what is that called? Yeah, master the customers. Or for PM, we are here to master um our membership. So this is the kind of thing that means we need to know how can we really um, be able to empower people to really master them, and they really feel empowered and feel engaged with TM. So that's the feeling part of the competence. How can you gauge their feeling and empower them? Okay, that's one example. And then the last one is hand. Hand is like self-explanatory. It's very practical. That means you get a hands-on experience. So all about functional skills. So in marketing, you learn about designing. You learn about lead, like okay, marketing campaign. Or in TM, you learn about um, tracking. You learn about analysis. So these are the things, the functional competence that you learn. Yeah. So that's part of the competence model lor. Where can you get it is yeah, it's actually in the TM summit output for global level. Um, yeah, I will figure out how am I going to downscale this information, and then that's when you will get the information needed. Yeah, so because I haven't planned out the downscaling of information plan yet. Yeah, so mm, that's the thing that I can tell you of for now. Yeah. Okay, KPI and PA. So about KPI and PA, let's see. Going back to KPI, where's KPI? Eh. So what's the thing that you want to know about KPI? CC, how can be calculated? Okay, so all right. How to close this thing? Uh, okay, so you can see that TMMOS is members achieving their goals, right? So members achieving their goals basically is you use PA law. So like now if you go and see the SONA report, they are actually collecting PA response rate and also members achieving 100% of their goals. Of course, for now in the reality, it's not all LC is able to achieve that. So um, I will discuss with OD side because in the AI side, they also say that sometimes it must go back to us entity reality. Um, if we need to project law. So okay, yeah. So basically, that's the MOS members achieving 100% of their goals. Okay, so MOS a big goal, ma. So how can the small steps enable us to achieve the big goal? So the small steps is T percentage of TM process being executed in the entities. Okay, So how are we going to measure? Let's see, do you have any? How can be calculated and set? Okay, how do we eh, how do we measure and how do we set is that because from the TM Summit we have a checklist for every single process. Okay, a checklist. So all you need for now lah, I cannot give you a very concrete idea because I need to plan on the change management first, then I can give you a very concrete direction. But then for now I can tell you that one of the examples that we can set this kind of KPI is to look at the checklist and see how many percentage of the gate keep and develop is did we implement as PMer. And then for team standards implementation, okay, don't worry about it because currently we already have a team standards tracker, and very recently I have already adjusted the team standards tracker to make it really simplified. Um, so we are I'm hoping to set the team standards tracking routine in this term. So that is one thing that I'm already starting on. So you just need to look at how many team standards has been how many percent of the team standards has been implemented in different team no? So that is one thing, and then you can see how many percent no? Okay, then percentage of talent pool. Okay, this one is about performance management. So again, I haven't planned on the change management yet. So for your term there will be a tool for performance management, and it will be it will be reviewed based on the competence model as well. So how we're gonna look at it is that also at the same time look at how much this person has achieved the goal. Is it above overachieve or achieved or underachieved? So overachieve means you achieve more than 100% of your goal. And then how do you actually achieve your goal? Is it the things that you executed, um, did it actually meet the expectation? So let's say you say your work, how you achieve 100 applicants for OGV is that you have lead, you go and call each and every one of your potential EP. Okay, then that's why you achieve 100 applicants for your OGV. So according to your attitude, how you how much you are committed to it, and um, your behavior towards your task, are you really over expectation, or just only meet expectation, or below expectation? So that this thing is quite complicated for now if I explain to you like this. um, so just I will make sure that I will do my very best to onboard the PMers for these changes lah. Okay, so that is how we measure performance. And then for retention rate is okay, so how we measure retention rate is that um your recruitment is October ma. So your October recruitment, um and then when we in March, let's say we request for your um, retention, so seeing how many people are still in your organization, then let's say you recruited 50 but left 25 people in March, so that means your retention rate is actually 50% because 50% of them are only staying. So that is retention rate. Okay, cool. And then engage membership. So this is AI already have engagement assessment, so you don't need to worry about it. All you need to do is just to execute the, it'll send out the assessment and then let your RC people to fill up, and then you will know the percentage. And then talent pool ready for the position. This one also we have a succession tool, um, and also from AI lah. And then talent pool actually applying, you have to see lor. So those people who were actually ready, did they all apply? So let's say you have 90% of them actually say actually show that they are ready to apply for leadership role, but then eventually only 10% of them apply for the right for the leadership role. So it means that eventually only that 10% is really, 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 really radio. Yeah. So that is how I can tell you like the examples of how we can calculate and set. Some members find filling up LDA as a waste of time. What is the relevance of LDA to all members? How does it build individuals? Okay, cool. Um, okay, one thing is LDA is just a tool. It's just like when you do MBTI, when you do Belbin, it's just a tool to let you know, okay, so I am ENTJ, or I am a plant, or I am a coordinator. But then, okay, LDA is the same also. So after you do your initial LDA, you will know that, okay, personally, I am actually quite good at world citizenship, or I'm actually quite good at self-awareness. Okay, that's the thing that my LDA result tells me. And then most importantly is how does the team leader debrief on your LDA result? Um, when you debrief on the LDA result, then you, as a team leader, you'll be focusing on, okay, so you got the highest score in self-awareness. So what do you think is your strength? Why do you think that you are really self-aware? So to let the members actually understand them better, and then um, looking at the lowest score LDA, let's say it's world citizenship, then what I have done before is that I will ask a member, lor, so you score low in lowest in the world citizenship. What do you agree with this result? Then they will share with me lor, or what they think, and then I'll be like, so why do you think you are like this? Then they will tell me, oh, because I care more about the technology rather than the world. Then I'll be like, okay, so after looking at this result, do you want to explore more about what's really going on outside of the technology world? Then yeah, so basically letting them be more self-aware, I would say, LDA, because it's a self-assessment. So it's a tool that enable the member to be more self-aware, and then knowing that, yeah, I am this, and then through your Isaac experience, we are also here to develop leadership. And then when you debrief your members' experience based on the exit LDA, you can see that, oh, okay, initially, in yourself, you have this much of self-awareness, and at the end of the experience, you're actually rating on first, how did Isaac actually enable you to develop leadership qualities, and also how much leadership qualities have you gained from um, from your Isaac experience. So after that they will think, oh, okay, they they can reflect upon their experience in Isaac to know what have they done in order to improve on this particular leadership skills. And because like most of the time when we talk about debrief or no one-to-one conversation, we usually talk about, okay, so you are not performing, so how can I support you to be more performing, blah blah blah. What have you learned, or have learned skills like facilitation skills lah, public speaking, this kind of stuff. But then we seldom acknowledge that we have learned leadership skills. And then when you have a debrief in LDA, you can also you will be reflecting on your experience, and you realize on your leadership skills that you have developed in yourself. Yeah. Any other questions? Mhm. Yes. No. Cool. Okay. So yeah. So right, hold on now, let me go to the last page. Okay, if you have any more other questions that, okay, maybe now you didn't think of it lah, but then maybe you go back like, okay, I got this question or what. So you can go to the MC Malaysia Facebook page and message us lor. Then we if it's regarding PM, then I will reply you lor. Cool. Yeah. So most of all, give me feedback lah. Yeah. So you can key in this link and you can provide feedback lor. Yeah. And if you, yeah, really, if you have any question you want to ask me, or you can email, you can Facebook chat MC Malaysia, or if you want to personally find me also can. Yeah, so it's up to you lor, which part that you feel is more comfortable for you to approach me. Cool. So remember to give me feedback and thank you for your time. See you. Output, yes, we will release output in Isaac Hub of video. Yeah, YouTube. uh it will be in YouTube. Yeah, cool. Thank you. Bye bye.